What's good, neighborhood, and welcome back. It's time for another session of Warframe Wednesday with yours truly, and as far as I'm concerned, we're going to keep going right through the roster because, let's face it, with as much content as there is in Warframe these days, and with as many new players as are still coming in, folks are going to want a starting point. And for some, the starting point is literally just finding a Warframe that interests them and, giving them something to aim for. But anyway, for everyone that's watching, you included, Chop, welcome aboard, and thanks for coming. So, today's target is. Today's target, I would say, is definitely an interesting Warframe in that she's unique not only in her usage, but she's also really unique as far as her history. Now, when Warframe was first being developed, and the first frames were actually in development, it was actually going to be one of those things where each Warframe or each Warframe platform had a male and a female variant. So when Nyx came into the picture, she was initially designed as a female variant to Excalibur. But things changed with the design, and of course, as you can see, she basically wound up being evolved into her own Warframe.
Well put together, operator. Now get out there and cut down the and make the latest print.
Excuse me. Now, Nyx herself, Nyx's specialty is enemy manipulation through psycho and telekinesis. She's a mental manipulator. And we'll go ahead and pop into the relay so that way we can get right down to checking out her abilities. Now, as far as actually acquiring Nyx, or at least acquiring the component blueprints, I can take you guys through that in just a little bit because it's through an active invasion mission, which are rotating events, kind of like the sieges in Monster Hunter World. But I'd say that one of the things that helps someone determine whether or not a warframe is, whether or not they actually want to get into warframe, or at the very least get into using a particular frame, you gotta see what they can do. So let me go ahead and get us the full lineup of punching bags. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, Nyx is the theme behind Nyx is manipulating the minds of whatever enemies you run across in any given combat operation. Her passive ability, I could go for the in-universe explanation, but what her passive ability basically does is makes it so that any enemies targeting her get a 20% accuracy debuff. So that alone is also going to be incredibly handy in straight up damage mitigation for someone starting out with this Warframe. To go ahead and get us started right with her abilities, the first one that you get right out of the gate, Mind Control. It's pretty straightforward. You pick an enemy, you zap them with it, and once they get hit and you see these little glyphs floating around, they will basically fight alongside you. So if I actually had the dummy set to active, then they'd actually be firing on their allies. Her second ability, Psychic Bolts. Now, Psychic Bolts can do some damage, but the big thing, the big thing that Psychic Bolts can actually do for you is defense reduction. Like this is the ability that you want to use, that you want to cast. Boom. Before you get into any skirmish that you see coming up. You see a cluster of enemies coming, hit them with psychic bolts, drop their defenses, strip their armor, and then use whatever melee or long range weapons you have. And go to town. These are tanky enemies that, like the enemies that I've got set up as dummies, these guys are tanky. I've even got them set to triple my Warframe's level. But watch. One casting of Psychic Bolts, and then I go in with my weapons, and watch this thing's health just melt away. That is, when they're not getting pushed off the side of the platform. Now, Nyx's third ability, Chaos. You cast Chaos, and you can barely see it, but there are these green little projections of Nyx. But what Chaos basically does is make any enemies in the area see that projection instead of their allies. And then they start attacking. They start going wild. Now, Nyx's fourth ability is one that actually works a lot better when the enemies you've got are actually actively trying to hurt you. And that fourth ability is Absorb. Now, pretty much what happens is when you cast Absorb, you float, and you absorb incoming damage. But what makes it even better is that once you cast it again to dispel the absorption barrier, you do knockdown, and of course, any of the damage that you've absorbed using that ability, you force it right back onto your targets. So, that right there is the basis, the basics, excuse me, for Nyx's abilities. It's all about manipulating your enemy's minds and basically using your abilities for negating your enemy's defenses and also mitigating damage mitigating incoming damage by either absorbing it or just by stopping it altogether, causing the enemy to fight each other. Now, the way I've got Nyx set up right now, she's got no mods on her, nothing to alter her abilities. It's just going to be a pure run with the weapons I've got, and I'm basically going to give you a look at her abilities in action. Yep, that that's kind of accurate, actually. I know. Nyx is the gaslighting Warframe, and I can't believe I said that. But there you go. It's out there. I said it. What are you gonna do? I mean, yeah, you really could say that. You really could say that the theme for Nyx's abilities basically makes her like a bad ex.
You must provide cover for a lone Tenno operative. Set off the alarms and keep the infested busy.
Infestation. Nor could weapon. That backfire.
The infested are releasing toxic spores into the area. The emergency life support I am delivering is your only chance for survival.
So here we go.
The first life support capsule has
Boom.
arrived.
First enemy on the scene.
Supply is low.
Tag it with mind control, and the carnage already commences. Let them fight. But you'll see, at this point, I haven't had a single enemy attack me in the last, 5 to 10 seconds. And just that small amount of time right there it can prove vital.
Ready for a capsule.
Drop some psychic bolts to decrease their defenses. And then continue with watching the chaos.
Another life support capsule is now available.
Now again, once you get Nyx high enough and you actually learn, and you actually have her learn Chaos, cast that, and everybody else in the area thinks they see me when they're going after each other. It's it's brawl at Tony's, but you actually just get to be a spectator. You get to sit at the
Life
bar,
support incoming.
watch, enjoy your drink, and everybody else just gets to go ham on each other.
30 seconds left. Life support activated.
Okay, let me get some more of these life support beacons active real quick.
That should keep you going for a while. Additional life support has arrived.
There we go. Yeah, that's perfect, actually. It's the brawl at Tony's, but you're Tony. You are the franchisee. Well, let me get down to that next life support beacon real quick,
Tenno, prepare for life support.
and then I'll be able to show off what Absorb can do.
Life support has been replenished.
Come along, children, right this way.
I've delivered another life support capsule.
And kaboom! Look at that. They did all that hard work trying to bum rush me for nothing.
Life support has been replenished. Extraction is available if you need it. The operative has just made their first discovery. Keep up the good work.
And what's great about Absorb, well, one of the other great things about Absorb is that one of the augment mods you can get for it pretty much makes it so that even though the return blast might do even though the return blast will do less, it'll actually give Nyx the ability to move around while channeling her absorption field. Actually, no. What it does is that it gives her the chance to move and attack while casting Absorb, but it makes it so that friendly fire won't be added into the damage, and it'll cut the radius of the field in half. So in a way, it still does take away from what damage it can do, but at the same time, the additional mobility from that mod can really, really come in handy. So you either stay stationary and gather the charge, or you're able to move around, and it'll take a little bit longer before you build up that same kind of damage, but it's still possible. Now, as far as putting together a solid mod setup, I've got two builds that I've already been working on for Nyx just to kind of see what I could do as far as playing with her abilities. There's one where I've basically made her something of a tank because my main goal with this first my main goal with this first build was to increase was to basically increase the duration and increase how much energy her absorption barrier increase how much damage the absorption barrier can actually pull in per second and cut the cost of it down. This second this second the second build that I put together is more this one goes more towards cutting energy costs by increasing efficiency. But I'd say this one is actually the more efficient build for Nyx because although it doesn't focus on trying to increase one ability specifically, the more spread out improvements from how I've got her modded basically turn her into a pretty deadly weapon. So now that I've done the practice run, I'm going to show you guys the missions where you can actually pick up Nyx's component blueprints. Now here's the thing. There are some warframes that it was tough for me to get them at first, largely because the RNG wasn't working in my favor. But getting my hands on their primed variants was actually enough for me to still be able to actually, get that warframe and utilize them. Nyx is a perfect example. I don't have her standard warframe, but I do have Nyx Prime. But anyway, if you were still trying to go for Nyx's component blueprints just to get her basic variant warframe, then what you want to look for is in the invasions tab of your mission docket, and you want to aim for the Phorid infestation missions. Now take note. Phorid infestation, you know, it's all assassination missions. It's all boss fights. So I'm gonna try and run through this mission real quick with a fully modded Nyx, and hopefully this will give you a better look at you know what a fully franchised proprietor of Tony's can do.
Nearby, seek and destroy.
Be on guard for the ancients.
One of our spy cells has been lost investigating this abandoned near asteroid base. We need you to locate and eliminate whatever is responsible.
And while the enemy attacks each other, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, another thing I should let you guys know about mind control. Like, in the few seconds after you cast it on an enemy, if you fire on them, it'll actually power up their attacks. Like, you cast mind control and then you literally shoot the enemy that is being mind controlled in the first couple seconds, and it'll beef up the damage that their attacks can do when they're fighting for you. All right, let me finish. Let me speed run through this real quick so that way I can just get right down to the boss.
Avoid the creature's spine strike. These razor-sharp quills will rip that warframe to shreds.
Oh, down this way. Now, just as a quick aside, if you've got, if you've got any questions and you're either watching this live or if you're watching watching this on YouTube when I post up the VODs next week, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them right now or leave them in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities, Because I'd really like to get more people into playing this. I'd like to get more people into playing this because if you're into third-person shooters and action games, I think you'll have a really fun time with it. And there's a lot of content to go through, and pretty much everything outside of deluxe cosmetics is free. There we go. Let's see if I can't keep these guys off me for a bit. Alright, that should do it. I need to hurry up and make my way to the boss, especially since... Ooh. I've only got a little bit of health left. Alright, it looks like the timers on both of those effects just wore off, so... I'm gonna need to reapply them, and soon. And that is the Phorid.
There is the assassination target. You know what to do.
Let's cast them bolts. Oh, I did not mean to make that thing my ally, but... I guess I'll take what I can get. Okay, I don't have enough to cast Chaos again. Well, that didn't work out. this is not working out at all. All right, time to fall back. Ooh. All right, I need to hurry up and drop this thing and fast. Ooh. Okay, time to go.
They won't be bothering us anymore. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I'll probably. Well, one thing's for sure. If I definitely do rerun this mission anytime soon, I'll be bringing another Warframe with me. But the main idea behind this, even with what limited experience I've got playing this game, was more or less to show off what Nyx can do. And in the hands of a in the hands of a much more experienced player, or even in the hands of a team, well, I wouldn't have been dying as often.
They won't be bothering us anymore. Let's get out of here.
And yeah, as you guys can see from that mission, I got the Neuroptics blueprint for the vanilla variant to Nyx. So again, if you're up for farming that boss fight, which all in all, it's a pretty solid mission in and of itself. It's straightforward. Like if you're up for farming that boss fight and you do want to eventually pick this Warframe up, then you can't really go wrong. All right, if you'll give me just a quick second, like I literally just need to jump over and grab something real quick. But I'm going to drop the camera for a moment, but I'll be right back. Yeah, only Saris, you're absolutely right. You are 100% spot on. Nyx is Nyx is good. Nyx is very good, but she's not good everywhere. And honestly, I think I could say that for pretty much every Warframe in the game. Like, if you're going by their base kit, then yeah, they're good, but they're not good everywhere. Not until you actually, you know, not until you get more into working with mods, until you get more into working with weapons, and of course, once you really plot out how their abilities synergize either with each other or with potential teammates. Hey, what's good, Uncle? Haven't seen you in a minute. How have you been? Yeah, that's actually I think that right there's gonna do it today's uh for today's Warframe Wednesday. But before I go, excuse me. Yeah, working, struggling, living life. Well, that is just life in general. But anyway, before we go, I want to give you guys a quick sneak peek at the next Warframe for next week. Now, Mesa is yet another one of those Warframes where I I haven't had the chance to get the component blueprints for her basic variant, but the moment I saw her, I had to snag Mesa Prime. So, yeah. Next week we're gonna cowboy up. It's gonna be fun. I'm I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just looking forward to going further with. I'm looking forward to going further with doing more of these little tutorial streams, just to again help more new players get into the game. But that being said, for everybody that's in and watching, I appreciate you hanging out. It's always been fun, and I'm looking forward to next week. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not muted. I think it might just be on your end, Blue. But at any rate, we're gonna go ahead and cut out. Only Saris, if you want to drop by and hang out some more, feel free to give me a follow. I stream pretty much every day. But yeah, I stream every day. I do more retro games. I do modern stuff. Just as much of a variety as I can put in. But anyway, that's enough about that. Y'all have yourselves a top-notch Wednesday. I'll catch you tomorrow with more Xenogears. Have a good one.